Well, if I'm happy now, I'm not gonna have to drive. Bullshit. Be comfortable with boredom and accept boredom. But why would you listen to them if they're not who or what you want to be? Make time for the people you care about and love. There's so much to be grateful for right now. You be the force of nature that gets things done. You can take any one of your weaknesses and turn it into a strength.
Because the modern world makes it so easy to never look in the mirror. You can fill every spare second with noise and distraction and never sit in that silence long enough to ask, who am I when nothing is entertaining me? So let me ask this. Let's say someone hears all this and for the first time they're like, all right, I need to face myself. What's a dead simple way for them to start that process tonight, without needing a journal, a course, or anything fancy? Just them, alone, ready to stop hiding.
I think that's wildly dependent on your circumstances and where you are in life. I think meditation for 10 minutes a day it's difficult because you're sitting alone with your thoughts. And they might be innocent thoughts. They might just be about the day. I saw this. I saw that. I wonder how this is going to turn out. I wonder how this Netflix show will end. And a lot of it will be that. But soon, some other thoughts will show up of the real problems in your life, of what you're facing. Not only is meditation for 10 minutes a day beneficial for that, but it's proven for a clearer mind, a calmer self, and better sleep. There's so many benefits of meditation, even just 10 minutes a day, that everybody should be doing it. And I think another thing is again, distraction can be up to a point. I think you need low dopamine activities to just sit and think about your life and try to remove all outside distractions. Because removing the outside distractions is going to make it so that you have to focus on yourself. You're not going to be focused on all these other things. You're going to be focused on yourself. You're going to be thinking about yourself in a good way. You're going to be thinking about what you need to change and improve in your life. You're not going to be thinking about this creator, you're not going to be thinking about all that. And I think consuming content that's going to help you actually. So think about it like this. Would you recommend, okay, there's two ways of thinking about this. Would you want your son to be watching the content that you're watching? Would you think that would be the greatest thing for him? If you have a son or not, doesn't matter. Future son. It's supposed to be a hypothetical. It's not supposed to be an actuality, but it can be if you do have a son. Would you think that that's going to improve his life? And I say son specifically and not daughter because I think a masculine force and a feminine force have two very different ways of thinking and have different things that we have to deal with in our life. And okay, if you are if you're masculine, you should think son. If you're feminine, you should think daughter. This podcast is aimed at men, so that's why I say son. So, would you want him or her consuming the content that you're consuming? If the answer is no, you know who to unsubscribe from, who to unfollow, and who to stop generally seeking out. So you want to give yourself helpful content, if any. I think consuming information is good, though. See, I say content loosely because content can be anything from prank videos to stupid brain rot shorts of TikTok, or it can be how to build a business, and it can be how to improve your life. So content is a huge umbrella term. Content is all of the internet, pretty much. So you do want to consume some of it. You want to consume information, though, things that are actually going to be somewhat applicable to your life. And I think even starting to do that will get the gears turning in your mind. And sometimes it can just be a mirror for you and point out problems that, first of all, you didn't even know you had. Things that you didn't realize were dragging you down and keeping you stuck. And second of all, it will act as a gear turner for you. It'll make you think of what is sometimes, so it'll also give you solutions to those problems that you either do or do not have. That you knew that you had, or you didn't know that you had. And if you do that, then it's like, oh, okay. So it'll give you something to chew on, to think about. And that's pretty much my goal with this podcast too, is to give you something to think about, to get your gears turning, and to give you solutions to improve your life. And having that is going to start the process of stopping running from the thing. You don't need a notebook for starting out. You're going to sit down and think of what? Like, it's so loose and so broad, you're just going to be overwhelmed. But if you start somewhere, and even if it is a broad motivational speech or something like that, it will get your gears turning. So I think the first thing that you can do is start consuming that content, consuming that information, which you're doing. Good job. Proud of you. Doing the right thing. Right here, right now. So I give you kudos for that. So that's what I think you should do first. That and meditation, because meditation will start to reveal things that you didn't think about before because you're silencing your thoughts. And if you're not good at meditation, a lot of people, I hear that. I'm not good at meditation. I can't meditate. Okay. I'm not good at, what if somebody said, I'm not good at lifting weights? I can't lift weights. Well, that's why you go to the gym. Oh, no, I'm not good at lifting weights. No, bro, you go to the gym and then you lift weights and you get stronger at it. Then you'll be good at lifting weights. But no. Yeah. Go to the gym, lift the weights, start small, get the result, and you will be good. It's the same thing. Start meditating, 2-minute guided meditation. It's training wheels. Training wheels are great. Nobody hates on training wheels for helping a kid learn how to ride a bike. Why would we hate on guided meditation? That's what guided meditations are. They're training wheels. They're great. Sometimes you can even use them even if you're good. Just because, sometimes you're weak one day or you're tired one day. Use them. It's fine. Use the training wheels. Use the guided meditation. The guided meditation will teach you how to do it on your own. And you watch enough of them, okay, I get the hang of this. Even if you start at 2 minutes a day, even if you start then 3, then 4, and you build up just like you would in the gym. You progressively overload your weight. your time of meditation until you get to how long you want to meditate, such as 10 minutes. I meditate 10 minutes a day. That just is what works for my schedule. That's what makes me feel best. Could I do longer? Probably. But this isn't about me right now. This is about you. 10 minutes has proven excellent benefits. So just get there. Don't overwhelm yourself with thinking you need to go out into the mountains and sit in a cave and shave your head and sit there with green tea and a fire and meditate for 2 hours, 3 hours and sit in total darkness for hours on end. That's for those people that do that. That's not for you unless you're into that. But if you're not, then you are a beginner. And that's fine. Take it as a beginner. Learn. Slowly get there. And you can do that. It's 10 minutes a day. If you don't have 10 minutes, it's like you got to find the 10 minutes. You do have the 10 minutes. You're just prioritizing other things. And maybe that's justified. But maybe you need to cut back 10 minutes on other things. Find the 10 minutes and make it work.
Yeah, would I want my son watching this? That's a gut check. Cuts through all the rationalizing. And that's the thing, right? Nobody's saying you need to go live in a cave. You can still consume. You can still learn. But are you feeding yourself fuel, or just more fog? And what you said about low dopamine activities, that's something I think most guys underestimate. Like even just sitting on a porch, going for a walk without music, staring at a wall, literally. You don't realize how loud your brain's gotten until you finally stop giving it toys. So one more angle on this. Do you think boredom is a secret weapon now? Like, is it actually something we should be seeking out instead of avoiding?
I don't think boredom is something we should be seeking out per se. I think the things that lead to boredom is what we should be seeking out, if that makes sense. Boredom can also mean, oh, I'm not strength training or lifting weights or going on a run, or I'm not. See, because boredom can mean different things to different people. If somebody's hyper-stimulated all the time, flashing colors in their face from all these YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all these different things, and blah, 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 and super high dopamine, blah, 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 sugar, 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 all this other stuff, they're going to be overloaded with things, and then boredom to them is going to be driving a race car, even. That's going to be boring because in comparison, it's less. Oh, I have to sit here and yeah, you're going fast or drive. We can even just say driving. This is boring. Whereas you take a monk and you throw them on the highway, they're going to be like, bro! They're going to be so overloaded because of the gradient is so different, the delta. Hey, real quick, if you're struggling with porn or lust, I put together a free 10-minute training that breaks down the yin-yang states that help me stop giving into urges and find peace without white-knuckling it. It's no fluff, just the exact framework that made the biggest difference for me. If that sounds helpful, click the link below. It's 100% free, and if not, enjoy the rest of this episode. So, I don't think boredom should be... I don't think you should seek out boredom. What you should do is do the things that cause boredom, but then fill your mind with other things from working. And here is the main key. Be comfortable with boredom. And accept boredom. Embrace boredom. I think you shouldn't seek boredom, but you should embrace boredom. Same thing with pain. Okay. Certain things can be trained. Certain things are good for training. Taking a cold shower is arguably painful, and you should seek that out. But it's not the pain that you're seeking out per se. It's the building of the disciplined muscle. And what's required for that is pain. Just like it's not the boredom that you're seeking, it's the building of the focus muscle. And they are trainable just like muscles. This has been proven. So it's not the boredom that we should be seeking. It's the elimination of distractions that we should be seeking. And being comfortable, embracing, even if it sucks, the quiet. the boredom. That's what we should embrace, not seek.
Yeah, that's the perfect distinction. You're not chasing boredom for the sake of it. You're removing the noise despite the boredom, and then learning how to hold steady when there's nothing exciting pulling you along. It's kind of like lifting, right? You're not in love with the soreness, you're in love with what the soreness builds. Same thing with silence. Same thing with discomfort. It's all resistance training, and if we're honest, most people's focus muscles are just completely atrophied. They've never had to sit still without a drip feed of novelty. So when you strip that away, yeah, it's gonna feel like something's wrong. But maybe that feeling, that restlessness, that's the real you knocking. Let's keep this going. How do you personally structure your day to protect that focus? Like, what habits or rules do you live by to keep your mind sharp in a world that's constantly trying to pull it apart?
I think you need to have a schedule of some sort that will keep you on track. I think you need to block out distractions. I mean, I'm not sure what kind of question that is. You need to do the things that are required of you, that you know you should do, whether you feel like it or not. You need to have standards for yourself, because you don't get what you want, you get your standards. You need to have habits in place that you are building day in, day out, because nothing is given to you. Everything is rented. Even this body, if you stop feeding your body's going to atrophy and die. If you stop feeding your mind, your mind is going to atrophy and die. Everything is rented. We are a collection of atoms, and one day these collection of atoms will return to the earth. And that's just how it is. Everything is rented. And we need to recognize that. And we need to have the ability to build in structure into our lives, such as a schedule, such as a dedicated environment to do the work that you need to do to get the goals that you want. Yeah, there's a lot of different little tricks and tips. I could tell you to keep your bed for just sleeping, and I could tell you to the putting your phone across the room. But I mean, then these are structural things. These are things that add structure to your life. But there's so many that it's impractical to give like one blanket general statement for that, because there's just so many. I think knowing when to say no, that's incredibly important. When someone is wanting to take all your time away, and knowing when to say no. And that can be a tough thing. That's a tough thing to deal with. It's a tough thing because you might really care and love for this person, but you also need to have a bit of a backbone. You don't need to be an ass about it. You can approach it in a polite way and say, or a assertive way. Don't be aggressive, but you can be assertive at least. Be like, oh, I'm trying to do this right now. There's different ways of doing that. And the more that you slowly build that up, and the more that you set boundaries for yourself, the more people will recognize and understand that. And if they don't, are they people that you want to hang around anyway? You got to make these choices. If they're constantly trying to get you to do something, or trying to walk over your boundaries. And it's a difficult juggling act of spending time with people and caring for these people and, having your own boundaries and your own personal space to do your own thing, to paint your mark on this world. So it's good to have those boundaries, and it's good to be assertive. And I would say you don't want to cut all those people out entirely. You don't want to be, to them, you might look like Scrooge, where you're just so focused on work and I don't want anything to do with all that. But to a hyper-disciplined person, you might not look disciplined enough. And everybody's different. Everybody has their own path. There's no work this amount of hours a day. There's no anything like that. That's a one size fits all. And a lot of hustle culture will tell you, sleep less, get 4 hours of sleep and you can do it anyway. It doesn't matter. Sacrifice your health for this and go, don't care for your body. Go sit and like, they're going to say sacrifice, cut off all people and go silent for months and just sit alone in a cave and get 4 hours of sleep. Like, there comes a point where you're just being an asshole to yourself. Your goals, you're setting these, a lot of times, materialistic goals above everything else and just listening to people that because they said so. You don't want to be a follower in that aspect. And you should realize that these things are going to help you too. And almost like, what is it all for? Are you doing it just so that you can flex around other people? You should have a few close relationships in your life. We are social creatures. We need that. Especially in a day and age where disconnectivity is higher than ever before. And the internet is not it's a solution for that, but it's a low solution. It takes so much more connection from online to achieve that inner fulfillment of feeling like you're actually connected to people than it does for an in-person interaction. So the internet is another great tool for that too, because if you genuinely don't have other people to be around, you can still use that. Use what you've got for now. But you want to be semi-balanced. And you can prioritize one and be front-loaded to say. You can say, hey, okay, I'm going to put most of my eggs in this basket, but don't cut out everybody else just so you can get this thing. Don't say screw everybody else. I mean, you can cut out other people that aren't helping you, that are urging you to do dumb shit, going out to clubs and drinking and all this other stuff that, again, I'm not giving you exact advice. Do what you want. What I am giving you is guidance. These people aren't going to help you. If they're not going to help you, and if they're not going to be respectful of your boundaries, you got to learn when to step away from that. And you can love at a distance too. And people aren't going to get it. The reason they say it's lonely at the top is because people aren't going to understand that what you're doing. Because you taking this path is so far above average that all the other people don't understand, and they'll try to pull you back, not out of any malice, not out of because they're trying to be mean or because they have bad intentions for you, per se. It's always some rotten eggs, always some bad apples. But because they care about you, actually, a lot of the times, and they don't understand what you're doing. Why are you so focused? Why are you so into this? Why are you so obsessed with this? Why are you working day in, day out to do this? Why do you take cold showers every day, dude? Are you crazy? Just take a warm shower. It's fine. Just take one day off and go eat junk food all day. It's fine, dude. Come on, bro. No, it will kill my momentum. Dude, it's only one day. Does that sound familiar? And again, I'm not saying you have to be some stringent, stick in the mud, stick up your ass kind of person. But to a degree you do. You need to have somewhat of that, because otherwise you're not, because people are going to tell you No, come on, let's go do this. And they'll try to get you to be like them. But why would you listen to them if they're not who or what you want to be? If they don't have the results that you want? What are they you're gonna get their life. They say you're the result. They say that you're the result of the 5 people that you hang around the most. And I think a largely underlooked thing is that you are also the result of your heroes, of the people that you watch online. If you listen to and watch people online, that almost, because you're feeding your subconscious that too, and you're around them enough, then you are, in a way, they're one of those 5 people, depending on how much time you spend with them, quote, quote. So you do want to set your own boundaries, and you want to keep that there for you. So you want to be assertive about your structure and say, this is what's working for me. But you also don't want to be so stringent that you'll look back with regret. Because you know what? Like, when I was younger, when I first began my discipline journey, when I first started getting into any of this, I worked so hard, and, I got criticized for it. I got criticized for being so disciplined. And people were like, oh, look at you, snobby. You have to pencil me in. Like, yeah, dude, I got stuff going on. I can't just willy-nilly jump away from whatever I'm doing. I don't know how long I'll be away from that. I don't know how much that's going to affect the work that I'm trying to do and get progress every single day. I don't know what is going to happen after that. I don't know how that's going to affect my mental state. I'm working right now. I need to do this. I'll gladly spend time with you later. We need to do that at another time. I'll gladly go and meet you halfway and work at a time and be with you at a time that works for the both of us. But I am trying to achieve this thing right now, and that is going to require all of my effort and intensity towards this one thing. And I can't always just be giving that away, right? The one thing that I felt bad about is that I worked so hard and so much that I neglected time with my dog. And I spent a good amount of time with my dog, don't get me wrong. But I do wish that I'd spent a little bit more time, that I wasn't that stringent, that I wasn't so focused on getting that goal that I stopped spending as much time with my dog. I wish, it's okay if I cut out a little bit more, but I wish I spent more time with my dog. She passed away in 2018. So after that, I felt horrible about that. Looking back, yes, I spent I feel like I spent lots of time with her, but I could have spent a little more. So you want to remember that. And that was a great lesson for me. You don't want to be looking back and regret the time that you didn't spend with people that you care about and love. As long as they're not being toxic. If they're toxic and they're trying to get you doing things that you don't care about, that you don't want to be, that you don't want to do anymore, remember that they're always going to keep dragging you towards that. And you can spend some time with them too. I'm not saying you don't have to cut them off completely, but less time, But maybe you do have to cut them off completely. I can't say. I'm not you. I don't know what's going on. I live my life in a way that I live my life for me. So I can't tell you if you can or if you should or not. What I can tell you is that you should have it somewhat balanced and not necessarily 50-50. All I'm saying is make time for the people you care about and love, that support your goals and dreams, that will respect your boundaries. That's all I'm saying. Because you can't get this time back. And that has a double meaning here. That's a double-edged sword because you can't get this time back. I want to spend it as much as possible investing in my future and working on my goals so that I can achieve what I want to achieve and have the life that I want to have. And in the future, I will be better off. That's one side. The other side is I can't get this time back. These people aren't going to be in my life forever, especially if they're older, if it's your parents or your grandparents or whomever else. And we never know when our clock is up. Things happen. And I know that's a hard thing to take in, but it's important to remember that every now and then. And the same goes for us, right? So you don't know when their clocks are up. You don't know when your own clock is up. So you do all this work and you never spend any time. If you never spend any time with your family, with your loved ones, you're so stringent like Scrooge that you cut them all off completely because you want this goal. Well, what good is that? What if you died tomorrow? And you've been doing that for years. Or what if your goal takes longer than you think? Would you regret it? Would you have these feelings of guilt and wish you spent more time with those people? It's an important thing to consider. And a lot of times, if these people are good people that are good for you, having them in your life will actually uplift you and will help you achieve your goals too. And more isn't always better when it comes to time being put into things. And you can argue that that's false. I get that. Sometimes it is. But that's why I said more isn't always better, because it can be. But what's most important to you? And that's what I think is critical to analyze. Is getting this goal more important than these people entirely? And if you're not sitting there and thinking about that, you're going to put your goal of, I want this so bad, a lot of times it's material things for these people. A lot of people have surface value intentions of getting a Lamborghini, and that's their main crux of a goal. That's what they want the most. Guess what? 5 years later, let's say you did it. You got that Lambo. And everybody you cared about is gone. Is the Lambo worth it then? Who do you have to share it with? A lot of people, and again, with the health thing, a lot of people, if you cut out all your sleep, well, first of all, that's going to impact the way you operate. Get the amount of sleep that you can get that works for you. Maybe you need to cut out a little bit. If you're sleeping 9 hours, maybe you can sleep 7.5. Maybe you can sleep 7, but don't go below 7. Again, I'm not you. I don't know how much sleep you need, but they say 7 to 9 hours. And I found for me, that is a pretty good range. My point is a lot of people at 85 years old, looking back, there's not a damn person that wouldn't trade all of their wealth, all of the possessions that they have, to have the health that you have right now, the energy that you have, the youthfulness that you have. Obviously, I'm assuming here, but I'm assuming you're younger than 85. If you're not, good for you. And the relationships that you have. All of it. give away every last cent, the shirt off their back, just to have those things again. That's just some food for thought, because I don't think when we're in the good old days, we realize it as much as we should. And take a minute every now and then to look at everything around you and be so grateful for what has shaped you, even the bad, what has shaped you to who you are. People talk about all the time that, would you think of like a bad thing that happened to you in the past? Would you want that to be different now? Would you want that to be never have happened? Or did it teach you something and you gained a lesson from that? Most people would say, I'd rather that have happened. It's made me who I am. I'm glad that it happened. Maybe it's not a favorable thing. Maybe you don't actually want that to happen, but in a way you do. Does that make sense? That you don't want the circumstance, but it taught you such a valuable lesson that it was worth it in a way. In a way. And again, like I was saying before, you should go through each day with that appreciation and viewing the beauty of everything around you. Again, if you're 85, you would trade everything that you had just to be where you are right now. And that's because there's so much to be grateful for right now. Gratitude isn't just this lovey-dovey, bullcrap, optimistic, tree-hugging kind of sensation that, oh, I should just be grateful for everything and nothing's bad in the world. It's not true. Gratitude is just being appreciative for where you are, because you have been gifted with so much. You're alive right now. Do you realize how many car trips that you've had in your life? Assuming any one of them could have taken your life. And that's not to scare you. That's not to scare you, obviously. But my point with that's not to scare you from car trips. I'm just saying that's the reality for some people. Or it could have taken their legs. Or you could have been born blind. And maybe some people watching that has happened. But you know what? There's always something to be grateful for. And maybe those taught you a lesson too, and you wouldn't take those away. Hey, just real quick. A lot of guys watching this are fighting their urges in silence, thinking they just need more willpower. But that couldn't be further from the truth. And that's exactly why I created this free training. It walks you through the exact emotional shifts that help me stop chasing urges and start rewiring. If porno lust is a part of your struggle, I think it'll really help. Links below. This one person I can't remember who it was, but I remember specifically them saying, because I'm pretty sure they were born with no legs, and then they became a runner. Might sound counterintuitive, I know, but they made it work. And they said that they're glad they were born with no legs. They're thankful that they were born with no legs. Can you imagine that? Well, something that most people would say it would be one of the most horrible things to happen for them. That sounds atrocious. To lose your legs? Who would want that? And this motherfucker is thankful for that. I give them massive applause for that. They took something that was their weakness and made it their strength. And I think that's what we need to do in life. Because if we don't, we're going to be plagued by these weaknesses. And how inspiring is that? You can take any one of your weaknesses and turn it into a strength. And that has been done all around the world for centuries. And it leads to some of the most wonderful, magnificent, adventure-filled lives. And not a more joyous life. We need to look around us and be appreciative for where we are. All the bad and all the amazing things that are around us we take for granted every day. Hot showers weren't invented what? Until 150 years ago? I say invented, but you know what I mean. They weren't easily or accessibly available to the common person. Most people, at least in America and first world nations, live as kings. Kings. And that's not just a few and far between. That's everybody pretty much, right? And I'm not saying that, there's not struggle and there's not poverty and there's not this and that and there's not all this scary stuff happening. But what I'm saying is, in a way, we have we have things that only kings would ever possess every day. The sweetest foods, the warmest, comfiest showers, hot tubs, how fast we can travel with a car. All these things are given to us as gifts. And if you see them as that, you begin to see how beautiful the world is. How beautiful your life is. Don't take it for granted. It can be gone tomorrow. And you don't have to live in this state all the time. But you should carry it with you and see it every now and then, every day. Because that'll give you a much better quality of living. And it'll give you insight and appreciation for where you are. And it'll give you insight of what to prioritize. And what things actually matter. You spilt a glass of milk? Guess what? That you had milk. You had something to drink. Well, now I don't. You're missing the point. You have easy access to food, to liquid, to hydration, to warmth, to a soft bed, to fucking slippers. Pink bunny slippers, you have access to that? And you're not going to be grateful for that. You're going to sit and mope around because someone unfriended you. And I get the inclination. I'm not trying to beat you down. The inclination is that we focus on what is negative and what's a problem in our life. And that's a survival mechanism. That's the ego. Because when we do that, we address it more appropriately. But we're so far developed now that for most of us, survival isn't just the main aspect of our lives, at least day to day, right? Things can be said about money in one way or another about survival. But day to day, we're pretty much all right for most of us. My point is, if we're not taking into account everything that we're grateful for, then the most smallest minute things are going to negatively affect us. And that's no way to live. Because no matter what echelon that you get to, no matter what state of life that you are, no matter how good your life gets, there's always going to be a problem. And you might not see it. Because if I just had this, if I had this amount in the bank, if I had these advantaged beginnings, then I would be happy. Which is the single most, okay, maybe not the single most, but that's one of the most problems that people have. That's one of the most common things. When I'll get X, I'll be happy. And they think that this is just a temporary phase. That this isn't living right now. That they're just in this little shadow realm of, I'm in the journey of it and I'm not actually, they don't even say that. They just, okay, this is just temporary living. Oh, I'm just doing this temporarily. Oh, I'm just doing this temporarily. And then they continue that every day. And they never learn from that. They never move forward from that because, even if they do achieve their goals, that they don't ever, then there's a new problem that crops up. There's always going to be problems. There's always going to be something dragging you down. Because you see it all the time. Oh, if I had that much money, I wouldn't be depressed. I wouldn't be this or that. You don't know that. You don't know that because you're not there. And yeah, you can say that, okay, in relation, the percentage of your life is going to be, your quality of your life is going to be better when you achieve these goals. That is why we achieve our goals. To get better and better and better and better and better. To improve the quality of our lives. Otherwise, goals wouldn't have any meaning. Of course. But if we don't train our minds this early on, instead of all the way up here to appreciate what we have, what makes you think that you're going to appreciate it when you're all the way up here? You're not going to. Oh, yes, I will. And no, you won't. Because you know what? There's people in third world countries fucking starving that would kill to have what you have. And you're not appreciative of what you have. They would do anything to switch places with you. Think about if you've made any sort of progress in your life. Think about 10 years ago. And if you've made any sort of progress and you're better off than you were, how much more appreciative are you now? If you haven't done the inner work, I'm saying. If you've done, you're doing great. Great. But if you have done the inner work, or if you haven't done the inner work, you're likely no more appreciative than you were then. You need to learn to be appreciative now. And the funny thing is, with most things in life, it's not cause and effect. The effect is the cause. It's backwards. Both are true. You need both. You need to start being appreciative for where you are now, and that will attract. And yes, I am getting into a little bit of spirituality here, but it's often the case that is found. You can ask people that have done this thing that will often attract more good things to you. Not to get too woo-woo on you or anything, but if you do that, you're more likely, or at the very least, if nothing else, you're more likely to have a higher quality of living automatically because you are seeing things that you wouldn't have seen before. Good things. Positive things. And then that'll also usually compound and bring you more things too. Especially if you start with the effect, you get the effect, and you get all the good things from that. And then you don't just leave it there though and say, okay, cool, I'm good now. Because that's what prevents most people from doing that is their ego. They think, well, if I'm happy now, I'm not going to have to drive. Bullshit. You're going to have to drive anyway, just because you're going to always want that thing. You're going to still want to have those things because of ego. It's funny. Your ego is stopping you from your ego. So you get the effect now. You live the joyous life now. You live happier because you're stopping and smelling the roses. You're seeing the things here and there. And again, you don't need to live in this state all the time, but living in it is going to cement in your subconscious that that's how you live. You live a happy, joyous life. And then we can start here too. So this is the effect. This is the cause. You be the cause. You be the force of nature that gets things done. You take action towards getting more of the effect. And both will converge and you will get the thing. You will get the cause and the effect. You will get the effect and you will get the cause. You'll have both already and both will amplify and then you'll have the greatest possible life. Does that make sense? That you'll have the greatest possible outcome there if you do that. You'll have the cause, you'll have the effect, you'll have everything. You'll be in, and that's the thing too. I wanted to say that earlier. About the people going about their day-to-day life and they're like, oh, this is just a temporary thing. That's why they say it's about the journey, not the destination. Because, and I believe that quote wouldn't have survived as long as it has. Out of all the books that have been written, out of all the things that have been said, out of all these things have stood the test of time and have stuck around for a reason. It's not chance. There's a reason that so many people relate to this. And we need to stop and think, why do so many people think about this? There must be some information in this. There must be some golden nugget in this, some truth. It's about the journey, not the destination. I know it sounds cliche, but hear me out. Because a lot of times we don't get the destination. Not to be pessimistic, but sometimes our goals change. And we start going this way. And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. We start going this way. And then our goals change. And we want to veer off into this. Something happens. And we're like, yeah, I wanted that like a year ago. But, I see a different journey for me. I this new opportunity. And then it changes. And that's a good thing. Because guess what? You might not end up where you want to be, but taking action is never going to be the wrong move. Taking action is always going to be the right move. Doing something. You want to get up and rain dance. You want to get up and do something because you never know what day that is going to change things. You never know. The more rolls that you give, the more chances you are to be lucky. The more chances that you are to have that one lucky day. And so by getting up and doing something every day, and not only that, it compounds. It builds on itself and builds on itself and builds on itself and builds on itself. And then one day you look back and you have this giant skyscraper that you started with a single goddamn brick. And you did that. And you can be damn proud of yourself of that. Regardless of if you got the whatever things that you wanted from that. You built the skyscraper. And that's why goals have to be built in to achievable things. You want to set goals that are achievable of things that you have direct control over. Not, I want this amount of followers by this day. It's not that that's not achievable, but that's not in your direct control. What you can say is, I want to take a cold shower every day and get 3 hours or 4 hours or however many hours of work done that day, every day. That's a goal. That's achievable. I want to lay this many bricks that day. That's achievable. So yeah, you might not end up where you started, but you'll always end up better than you were. Does that make sense? Even again, you start doing things more things are likely to happen to you, good and bad. You're more likely to get things. Ta-da! You got good goal. You got the result that you wanted. And you're more likely to get bad things, which we talked about earlier. Getting bad things is a good thing because it's either a lesson or it's either a lesson and you're one step closer to the thing, or you're learning something that you're going to apply later, and you wouldn't change that for anything because it was actually a good lesson that you learned, or you get the good result that you wanted. Either way, you win. And when you approach life that way, there's no way you can lose. And then also, you can appreciate the journey as it happens, as it unfolds. Who knows where it'll go? You may get the destination, you may not. But you'll have a journey. And you'll have tales to tell. And you'll have all these things that you did, that you can be proud of yourself, that built your character. And your character is the only thing that you can take with you anywhere. Your character and information that you learn. And even information can change. Your character can change too, which again, it's why it's a rented thing. Just like everything else in life. So we really want to take action and appreciate both at the same time. And that will create the highest, best synergy for us. The healthiest way of living. Because and then, guess what? Who do you think is going to get to the finish line first? Who do you think is going to get farther? Who do you think is going to achieve something more? Not that it's about the destination, that's what we just went over, but the person who is happy while they're working and happy to be doing this thing and be appreciative, even if it's not directly in regards to what they are doing. They could be appreciative of a smell of, say they have eucalyptus or a candle or something, and I'm really grateful for that candle. That smells amazing. I am so glad that we have that technology, right? Or the person who's mopey and getting all upset about everything and, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to fucking do this. Man, this sucks. This is stupid. Blah, blah, blah. And they're just pissed off. Who do you think is going to win and going to achieve more and going to have not only a happier life because they get the thing, but also a happier life because they're enjoying the journey? You win both ways. Why wouldn't you do it? And yeah, sometimes you are going to be the mopey sack of shit that doesn't want to do anything. It's going to happen. Everybody has days like that. Even if you get a 2% boost from being appreciative, that's 2% that you wouldn't have had. And it's important to push through on those days too. Even if you can't find any appreciation, you show up on those days and you get something done and then you keep your momentum. And momentum is so important. Momentum is why habits are formed. And I think habits are just another word for momentum and it's hard to really know unless you have firsthand experience of momentum, because you stop doing something one day and it's like, there's this old saying of how you do one thing is how you do everything. And someone has said, his name is John Sonmez, he said that he adapted that for his own life, where he said, he applied that and said, how you live one day is how you live every day. And that, it's so true. Now, is it literally how you live one day? If you take a day off of vacation, you're going to live that way the rest of your life? No, of course not. But the idea behind it is so true because it's a spiral. You're either in an upward spiral or a downward spiral, and there's no in between. I like to think of it like a spiral staircase, right? If you're taking a vacation day off, you are arguably taking steps down the spiral staircase. Might not be a terrible thing. Life allows for that if you've been disciplined and resilient enough. And you've been doing the right thing for long enough and doing everything as you should. Cool. You already climbed 10,000 steps when the average person has climbed 100. You take 100 steps back. You'll be fine, right? And that's all subjective and varies person to person. But yeah, how you live one day is how you live every day. Meaning that you're either in an upward spiral or a downward spiral. Because our subconscious will repeat. Our subconscious loves to repeat. That's why habits exist. We repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. And most of our days look pretty much the same. And there's an effect that I called the open door effect. Maybe this effect is already named. I call it this. I claimed it as this. The open door effect, essentially, is where if you keep the door closed, you're not likely to ever go through it. But if you open the door's open, and you're much more likely to go through it because it's open. Think of it like a locked door. And if you slam the door open and you take all this effort and you bust the door down, then it's open and you're like, well, okay, there's only these few doors. Which one should I go down? You've increased the likelihood of going through that open door. You're probably thinking like, what the hell are you saying, Dr. Discipline? What I'm saying is that and this has been studied too. Say someone cheats on you. The fact they did it one time means it's more likely to happen again. Or say say you eat chocolate one day. You have a bunch of chocolate, a bunch of sweets one day. You think the next day you're going to want to do that again? You're going to want to. You're really going to want to because that's the nature of them. So once you do something once, especially the more recent it was, and does fade with time and fade with time and fade with time, but the more you've done something, the more that's in your brain wired for that, the more connections you have towards that in your brain to go towards that. And again, those atrophy and decay, but they're never really gone. Those atrophy and decay over time, but the connections are still there. So it'll get weaker and weaker and weaker, but the connections are still there. And okay, well, less connections are made, yes. A connection is still there, I should say. Correct myself. But the connections some connections are going to be there. And especially the more recent it is, because it takes time to build habits and it takes time to decay habits, to get rid of habits. So if you're doing something, you are building that up in your brain. Meaning, once something is done recently, you're more likely to do it again. It's the open door effect. And that's why how you live one day is how you live every day. And maybe not for the rest of your life, but within the next 6 months, the next 3 months, depending on how severe, how you live one day. That's why it's very important to not lose momentum, because momentum is what keeps you going. I'd rather do something than nothing if it keeps the momentum. Say one of my habits is working out every day, and I sprained both of my ankles. Let's just say, I'd still rather go on some sort of light walk just to keep that habit there, even if that's not what I'm used to doing. That keeps me accountable to, okay, I still work out every day. And that keeps my brain knowing that, my subconscious. How you live one day is how you live every day. So keep that momentum going. Hey, before you go, you made it this far. which means you're a part of the 1% that actually want to improve. So here's a free gift for you in case you want to break free from porn or lust. It's a 10-minute yin-yang training. It's straight to the point. It shows you how I actually overcame the urge loop without only relying on discipline. It's 100% free, and it's the first link in the description. I highly recommend starting there today if that's something that you'd like to stop.